So he was graduated in law in Vale dos Sinos in 1988, and he's a doctor in law of the University of Rio do Vale, and he is now a professor at the university, at the local university there, and he has his law degree, and he has a number of juris subjects. He also with the program of graduation in law, and has a number of different courses and specializing all in the jurist matters. So with the floor, when it's 5 minutes, I'm going to show you this card. Good morning, all of you. I am from Rio Grande do Sul, from Unicinos, and the issues I'm bringing to discuss with you has to do with two research projects that I work with, one in the university itself, and the other one with financial support from campus, which is about nanotechnology, started in 2008, and we started to implement last year. And Professor William is actually the general coordinator of our team in the university.
There are some points that we have to discuss. The regulatory marks that contemplate some issues that we have seen. And a question that we have had is there a limit for the human creativity, for the human incursion in nature? Because we know that in nature the forces are already there. So in no moment of the humanity story of now in nanotechnology, we are trying to copy and reproduce and benefit from these spaces that already exist in nature. So I think that the first big challenge is this: to what point can we associate and reproduce what already exists in nature for us to be able to face this. Here we see a point that has to be discussed, because up to now what is happening in nanotechnologies is the discussion that science is doing about it. Science for many seen as the real true one. So what we have been seeing is the necessity of the entering in the human areas, humanistic areas, and also with legal issues, and this is part of the humanistic areas also. To see the positivist paradigm, the necessity for this. So it is important to express this expression in the plural, nanotechnologies, because there are many areas and techniques that work with this perspective of a new scale, that modify the products that already exist in the conventional scale, and therefore the challenge that Dupa says, that it is a multidisciplinary techniques, and I would even say, wouldn't it be a transdisciplinary aspect if we surpass the barriers of, especially the disciplinary barrier, if we learn how to dialogue with the human sciences, learn how to dialogue with science. So this is the challenge. It is not a multidisciplinary, it's a transdisciplinary. We have to surpass these concepts. So we have to have the conditions of being able to shift between these spaces. Here we are in spaces that we already know, and down here we see other, according to Richard Freimer, there is still more space still yet to know. because the scale continues and it goes to smaller proportions and sizes still. So the questions that I ask in this symposium is how to regulate, how to enter in the regulation and how to do it. So with the 2 days of debates that we have had, there is a big variety of informations. How are we going to filter these informations so that we can have a concern with the human perspective and environmental perspectives? So I talk specifically with the legal Brazilian issues. So in our laws, what we do have here in Brazil, without a direct perspective towards the nanos, but showing what our laws can offer. And this research also is based on international plans with interfaces that are object of this argument. So there are many regulatory agencies in Brazil because of the Article 174 in our Constitution of '88, and they say that as a normative agent of the economical activity, the state will bring these forms of law and functions and fiscalization, planning and incentive. Here we have some examples. We're going to talk specifically about each one of them. So what interests us is the Anvisa. It's the National Agency of Sanitary Surveillance. So it wants to promote the protection of health in the population through the sanitary control. So there are many interfaces in which Anvisa can act, and it can also act in terms of nanotechnology. Here we see the establishments of limits when there is the risk of human health. So in studies of non-toxicology, in many cases, public health is in risk, so maybe it is the time that Anvisa would establish limits that concern them. Anvisa can prohibit the manufacturing and importation of everything that will lead to a risk of health for the human being. And another issue here that is important is the regulate, control, fiscalize issues that put at risk the public health. What are the products that the agency has to fiscalize? Some that we have already seen here: medications, cosmetics, medication. Another issue that we studied in the research project that is financed by CAPES is the nanofoods issue. Here we have a provocative charge. They talk about the economical part, and today we foresee that what is giving the idea for the research is the economical issue. Of course, that profits are necessary, but we have to assess the consequences and also the issues that involve hunger. So if we're going to talk about new foods and new proprieties, we should also attend the interests of hunger. For example, when we're talking about food, we're talking about interfaces, other interfaces, like, for example, foods and nanos, fertilizings, packaging, and the prepare of the food in ceramics and in other objects. We have a big quantity of norms, legal norms, that are concerned with the food issue. So we have the sanitary surveillance, we have crimes against public health, and we have the defense code of the consumer, which is considered a modern legislation here in Brazil, recent. And in this one, there is a concern with the propaganda of products that have to do with sanitary surveillance. So this has to do with the labels. If this is not being done, we know today that there's an important issue, that there is a production of nano foods that are not being informed. There is an old resolution also that talks about this. There's also a safety law that talks about the precaution against protection of the environment, and there is also a civil responsibility, and without the existence of guilt, that we say in law that this is the objective responsibility. There was, for example, something that was harmful, and there is the author of who did this harmful. So it isn't necessarily the proof of the guilt, but only to prove the author of the harmful issue and what happened to that. So this is present in our new civil code that happened in 2002 and began to be applied in 2003, and there is the responsibility of the objective against the environment. There is the responsibility of the physical person and also into the legal person. Another person that is which is very important, we have to privilege the environment. So there is also the constitutional right to information and the crime of the abstract danger. This is in our panel code that is in 2004 to 1940. This law had already existed, the crime of the abstract danger, and it is not necessary to produce an effect, but it is if you are developing a series of activities that can generate a negative effect or harm, there is the possibility of this crime responsibility. Here we talked about the law project of Senator Leon Viana, and we have an initiative here that talks about, they are worried about the packaging, but it was an independent representation that was against what we were talking about in the competitivity forum that are here. We have an important strategic function that it is to mobilize nanotechnology, and it wants to put in contact and discussion the various actors that are involved with this new technology. And a suggestion for those who are here, apart from this regulatory mark, here we have this address that is open to the public consultation, and as Brazilian citizens we should open this page and see what is being discussed and participate of the information. If the information is not adequate, you should give your opinion for us not to be accused of omission. So before they have been elaborated and finished, we have to participate. There is a cooperation agreement, scientific cooperation agreement and technological, that is also significative in this moment there, because there's all a possibility of asking the support of the European community for them to help us in nanotechnology, metrology, and also the issue of the human sciences. And I was very happy to see this in this international agreement, because they are concerned also with this issue. What are the challenges? One of our challenges is to bring to the public space issues that are important for the human beings, or we have to finish the private interest. We have to elect human values in common that are concerned with our species. And the knowledge that we have about nanotechnologies, are they sufficient for these conditions? Here we have some studies of nanotoxicity, and it is a bit incipient. We see here, for example, that what is not being taken care of is the environmental issue. Here we see in vitro and in vivo. We also see the way that it is being exposed. We have others that are not specific, are the majority. When you inhale, when it is you eat it. So this is in 2009. There's another issue that is very important, is to see the interaction with ecosystems. For example, you see the soil ecosystem, it almost doesn't appear. So what are the studies that we have? Here we have the mammals and for example, rats that are sacrificed for human beings. They are the majority. This is important because the environmental issue is not still being part of the research. Here, the analysis of toxicity in this vital circle, the majority is when they are in the basic materials. So here there isn't concern with the consumer, with the products that are nanoparticles that are in the market. So even if we do have our guinea pigs, but we are the real guinea pigs in this sense. There are those products that are in the market are being placed there for us. And here we also have the situation of the transhumanity. Here we have a space of science fiction, but what do they take? The words that they use is to sow, to destroy, to signal danger. So these words, they don't belong to humanism. We have to take care of human life, and apart from death, we can do anything. So we have to go over some dichotomies. We have to examine this, the whole and the part. The whole and its relation with the individual. We have to see it all in a context, and the ecosystemic issue is fundamental. One of the first barriers is in the law itself. We have to look for a dialogue between the sources of law with the regulatory marks, and look for interfaces between the internal law and international law. We have to have a law in Brazil that has to, for example, dialogue with an international law, so that we can. Otherwise, we will be closing the progress in our scientific research. Law is not like the legal part is not like law. The dialogue of those sources, we have to talk about the doctrines and value, our habits, and all the reflexes that come from a international community, because we have to establish a policy between man and nature. Nature is not against us. It's pro human being. Here we have El sueño de la razón produce monster. From Goya, this painting, it means the dream is the reason of reason produces monsters. But for this, we have to also. Martin Heidegger said that we need time. We need time to let emerge, and we have to let emerge the experience of the past. We cannot forget what has been done in the past. We cannot forget the human being. We cannot throw him into scientific research and turn him into a lab mouse where you throw nanoparticles into him and then after observe if he's going to die or not. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but we are also worried with this element. We're not a lab mouse. We are a being that has dignity. This makes us different from the other beings. We have to also see this, what is human and non-human, not forget the what history has done with human beings, but have a new reading and to see that the non-human is the continuation of the human being with an environment that permits his existence. I will be launching my book in the evening that talks about nanotechnologies and regulatory marks with environmental rights. These are my contacts, and I thank you very much.